Hello, I'm John. Welcome or welcome back. Got a tag video for you today. Hopefully, we'll see if I can get through it. Not been having a very good time with tags. I made one a couple of days ago that was 43 minutes long, and I just went ahead and shelved it because it was very long and very slow, and I don't think it would have worked out very well in a video. But anyway, this is the Bookaholics anonymous tag. Let's see. I was tagged by Mike from Bibliophile Bookscape and also Jeff from Reading Still Matters. And I didn't write down who created this one, so I'll have to figure that out and put it in the description box. And let's see, there are 9 prompts and a tag prompt. So here we go. Number 1. What do you like about buying new books? I don't buy new books usually. I buy used books pretty much entirely. I have for many years at this point. And buying books is not reading books, which is a refrain we hear constantly on Booktube. And I think that what do I like about buying books? There are a lot of things I like about buying books. I like going to bookstores. I like going to thrift stores. I very much like the hunt because the way that I shop for books, the places that I go, I never ever know what I'm going to find. I can be very, very surprised by what I find for $1, $2, $3. And so there is an addictive quality to that, I think, which is perhaps overlooked by people who look down on others for buying books. It's not just a materialist pursuit. There is something, I think, that speaks to a deep inner nature of human beings in general. This quest for whatever it is that makes you happy. Books make me happy, therefore I go out and buy them. And it is more than just buying. Once you have a book, I don't know why, but there seems to be this sort of minimalist, I'm right, you're wrong drive. And the idea is that if you have more than so many books, well, you're hoarding books, and you're an evil capitalist, you're an evil consumerist, etc., etc. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Books don't evaporate. You buy a book, you put it on your shelf, you have it for 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, and then you read it in 50 years and you go, boy, I'm glad I had that book. So I don't really understand that mindset. A library is a library. It is there for today and tomorrow and the next day and the week after that and the month after that and the year after that. It is not just, I bought a book so I can show it on Booktube and get some likes and get some views for my channel that's not monetized. And it is, Steve Donahue has referred to it as a nesting behavior, and I see that. I very much see that. But I think that there's nothing harmful about the acquisition of books. There's nothing harmful about having books. I mean, unless you have a serious problem. My grandpa knew a guy. He worked with a guy down in Tennessee, and he went into this guy's house. And he said that literally to get around his house, you had to walk through trails because there were books stacked up 4 or 5 feet high all through his house. That is a problem. That's not what I'm discussing here. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent because this negative look at people who have books in their house, who collect books, or who just are trying to acquire a library to last them the rest of their lives, I think that it is mostly unfounded. I think that it is a rather short-sighted view of what it means to be a reader, to be a book buyer, to enjoy books. I would rather be in a room full of books than a room full of people, to be completely honest with you. I don't feel comfortable unless I'm surrounded by books either. Uh, I don't know where I'm going with this. I like to buy books. I like the hunt for books. I like searching for books. I like to be surprised by what I find. And I like to be introduced to new things. And I like to have a large quantity of books to choose from at any given moment, because my interests are so wide and so varied and rather inconsistent. Today I'm interested in submarines. Tomorrow I'm interested in horror novels. The day after that, maybe it's chemistry, or you just never know, or I never know. Maybe it'll be philosophy. Maybe it'll be Roman history. So um, I know a lot of people say, well, use the library. My library is not super impressive to me, because libraries are by their nature geared towards uh, contemporary readers in most cases, people who are reading books that are uh, new releases or releases that have come out within the last decade or two. Whereas I like books from the 90s, the 80s, 70s, 60s, go back and back and back. So I I like to have a lot of books at hand, um, and I don't feel bad about it. I went off on a tangent there. I went off on a little bit of a rant there. It's an issue that kind of gets to me, because I just find now there is a problem perhaps on Booktube, on YouTube in general, of people who do these hauls of really expensive things, and they do hundreds and hundreds of books, or whatever they're into, shoes, clothes. And I think that there is probably a problem with that. I think that there is a disconnect between what I am trying to say and what that is. What I am trying to say is that books are good. Being a reader is good. Having books in your home is good. Uh, you know, books are not affected by power outages. They Once you have it, you have it. It's not going to evaporate. Um, it's anyway. It's not hurting anybody, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas perhaps that other corner of these huge hauls where people are buying very expensive books that they are never going to read, that they really have no interest in other than holding up to the camera, I could see that being a problem. But I went way off on a tangent there. Um, Question two, how often do you buy new books? So once again, switching that into used books, how often do I buy new books, new to me? Excuse me. I guess I'm losing my voice from that long video I did the other day. Um, I would say that I buy a book probably weekly, or every other week at least. Probably closer to every other week, because like I said, by the nature of how I look for books, I don't always find them. And I have noticed, unfortunately, that the books that I like from the 70s, the 80s, the older books, a lot of times they will appear in a large quantity all at once, because I'm going to thrift stores, I'm going to Goodwills and things like that, where people die and their relatives take the books to Goodwill or wherever, or they go into the nursing home. And I can pretty much always tell when that is the case, because someone who has collected books since the 70s, and it is clearly a single collection, they're not just going to wake up one morning and go, well, I better get rid of those books. That's so that is kind of a disconcerting element to it. But what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times I will walk into a thrift store uh, or a Goodwill or something like that, and there will be a whole bunch of books from the 70s, from the 80s, of a certain set, whether it's history or science fiction or horror novels, whatever, Arthur Haley novels. And so um, sometimes I will buy quite a few all at once, and then other times I will go to these stores and find absolutely nothing for weeks on end. Uh, I think one time I went 6 months without buying a book, but it's just because I couldn't find any that I wanted. Uh, but yes, weekly or every other week. And I think that the longest that I've ever gone on purpose without buying a book was uh, I went an entire October once. I tried the Read What You Own challenge about a year before I joined Booktube or had ever commented on a video or anything. And so uh, I'm always buying books. I buy books every month in general. Every every time I have the chance really to buy something that interests me, I usually will. Um, Question 3. Bookstores or online book shopping, which do you prefer? So about 6 or 7 years ago, I quit buying books online. And one of the reasons was just that I have so many books here in person that I don't really need to buy books online. And going back to that whole discussion about the hunt, the quest for books, there's something very enjoyable about that, which when you buy it online, it sort of takes that thrill out of it, at least for books for me. I could see it in a different vein if you were searching for rare books, collectible books. That would be different because you don't really find them the way that I look for books. But they're not what I'm looking for anyway. Whereas for me, um, I don't really need more books. Like I don't need more books. I have quite a few. It just comes down to an interest. So I don't allow myself to buy books online, and I don't buy new books anyway, really. So I don't really have a reason to buy them online. Um, I like old books. I like used books. I prefer used books, to be honest. I like books that are already kind of broken in. Um, and there's something too, I think, if you've ever seen there's an interview with Kurt Cobain, which was, it was shortly before he died, and they're standing next to a river, like in a city, there's a river, and I believe, and Kurt Cobain is talking about, the interviewer is asking him about like what he likes to collect or what he really liked, and he was talking about how he liked to go to thrift stores and just weird off the wall stores and collect medical stuff, like antique medical stuff. But he said that because he was now rich, it had taken all the fun out of it because he could just walk into a store and buy everything that he wanted. Um, there was no more thrill in it. Um, and that's kind of how I feel about buying books online. There are loads of books that I would love to have, but I really want. But there is that joy in finding it on your own and finding it in the wild. And I think maybe I'm addicted to that a little bit. But it's within my budget, it's within my means. It's not something that what I'm trying to say is I prefer in-store book shopping. I prefer going in person and finding books, and I don't really enjoy shopping for books online unless it's something I'm never ever going to find in person. But um, really, I won't even let myself buy those because there are plenty of books I would like to have that I just won't order. Like I sold a bunch of books earlier this year for money that I was going to use to order books that I wanted. But when I was standing there, I was like, eh, I'll find them one day. Question 4. Do you have a favorite bookshop? Well, it depends. There's a Habitat for Humanity store in Lexington that I really like. I find a lot of things there, and it's not a bookstore though. It is a, they have all kinds of different things. They have furniture and tools, stuff like that, and just books in a section. Uh, that was my favorite for a while because I was overjoyed. Uh, my mom showed me that place. I didn't know it was there. She was looking for a couch or something. I don't remember. It's been a while, but we were going from store to store to store trying to find her some kind of furniture, and we went to the Habitat for Humanity store, and I mean, they had all these books from the 60s, 70s. I was just completely overjoyed because you can't find these books generally. And I think that I have become a little bit inured to that, a little bit. It's not as overwhelming as it was at first, but that's probably my favorite store with books in it. Um, yeah. There's the half price books that I really like also, but probably because it's just down the road here a few miles, and I spent a lot of time there. My favorite bookstore used to be Joseph Beth, and it was as much for the books as it was for just being there. Um, but I don't really. That was when I was much younger. Uh, Number five, do you pre-order books? No, I don't. Because I don't even know what new releases are coming out, and I probably wouldn't be interested in them even if I did. I'm sure I can imagine some instances where perhaps I would pre-order books, probably if people that I knew had written the books or something like that, but in general, no. Um, Question six, do you have a monthly book buying limit? No. And I've never really had to impose one because I have never really spent enough money for it to be an issue. I have never, because I don't buy new books. I buy books that are $1, $2, $3 generally. And so there were a few times when it could have probably gotten out of hand. Uh, After the pandemic, for instance, all the books at Goodwill's around here were $1 a piece. All of them, hardcover, paperbacks, they were all $1 a piece. And so I was buying loads and loads of books, like anything that looked interesting, I would just buy it. And I think that got out of hand, but not in a money sort of way, because it was still extremely cheap. Whereas that was getting out of hand in a I'm bringing home 30 books every time I go out kind of way. Uh, um, and that probably did get out of hand for a little while, but I'd been shut in the house for a while. And number seven, book buying bans. Are they something for you? No, not really. Like I said, the longest time I have purposefully gone without buying a book was in an October a couple of years back. I went for an entire October without buying any books. Um, and I guess that was nice. I read something like 20 books in that time. At that time, it wasn't any more than I was reading in a given month because I was in a reading uh, challenge. I was trying to see how many books I could read each month, and so I was really pushing myself to read a lot. Uh, but no, book bans, they're not something I've really done, and they're not something I really have an interest in. I see why people impose them upon themselves. I see why you would. Uh, and it probably wouldn't hurt me to go on one, honestly. I thought about doing the Read What You Own challenge this year, but I would love to ask Ollie from Kerman Ollie why he made the Read What You Own challenge start right in the autumnal change, right towards winter. Like, I just can't give up books in the wintertime. I can't give up book shopping in the autumn and in the wintertime. It's getting dark, it's getting cold. I don't like to just sit in the house. I like to go out and do things. Whereas I think uh, if it was in the summer, I would probably have an easier time in the spring and the summer giving up book buying than in the winter. Um, but I have all these books that I would really like to read, but I don't know if a book buying ban would really help me in that way because, like, I don't make TBRs, I don't make lists, so I just bounce from book to book to book. And maybe there is an issue with having so many books that you don't know which one to turn to, but uh, my problem mainly these days is just that I'm trying to say that I don't read in a systematic way, so I don't know if a book buying ban would really help me. Um, Question 8, how big is your wish list? Probably over 1,000. Over 1,000 books. Easily. But I've also noticed something that when I go out, I sometimes find books that I have wanted for some time, and I'll hold them in my hands and I'll look them over and I'll go, I don't really want that. So there's also that. So there are probably several hundred books on my list where I would actually hold them in my hands and look through them and go, I don't really want that. So it's probably in the 700 range, 6 or 700 range. But I'm not like I wouldn't go out and buy them today because, as we have established earlier, the thrill is in the hunt for these books. It's not even in the buying so much. I like to go out and find books that I really have no interest in buying and just look at them and go, that's neat, and put them back. And I think with books, a lot of times it's more fun for me to look than to buy. And so I don't spend nearly as much money as I could spend just because part of the fun of going out to bookstores is looking and not buying. Okay. Question 9. Which 3 books from your wish list do you wish to own now? So I went with 3. Clearly. I could have went with way more. Uh, I don't know why I said that. It is 3 books from your wish list. So the 3 books are uh, books that I have never seen in person or that I saw and I bought and it was moldy and I want another one. So the first one is by John Gardner. It's Mickelson's Ghosts. I see John Gardner books all over all the time. Grendel, The King's Indian. Um, what is there is something called like, I don't remember off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but I have several of his books. The one I want is Mickelson's Ghosts, and I have never seen a copy of it in person. And I look very frequently, and I look whenever I go out. I've never seen a copy. I like John Gardner. I feel that he was kind of a strange writer. Um, he in his novels, to me, it seemed like he tried to put too much unique stuff in them to where it kind of becomes a little bit absurd. Granted, I haven't read all his novels. It's just when you read the synopsis, they look a little bit too much for my taste as far as the characters and the plot go. But Mickelson's Ghost is, from what I remember, it's about a like a writer who is, or maybe a professor who has a problem with drinking, and he moves into a house, and maybe the house is haunted, and maybe it's not. And I would really like to read that book. Clearly, I don't remember what it is about. Um, the second is by Eric Maria Remarque, who wrote uh, a couple of my favorite books. So, All Quiet on the Western Front and Arch of Triumph, which is a great book I never hear anyone talk about. One of my favorites. It's a book that really kind of gut punched me, and I couldn't read fiction for about a month after I finished it because it was just, I don't know, it hit me really, really hard. Uh, but I have never seen The Night in Lisbon. I very rarely ever see Remarque's other books other than All Quiet on the Western Front. Like you can go to any bookstore in the country and they will have All Quiet on the Western Front, but they very rarely have the Black Obelisk or The Night in Lisbon, Arch of Triumph, or uh, anyway. I did find one of his other books recently, but it was not, I don't think it would have interested me at all. Uh, it seemed kind of like a society piece or something like that. And the last is a book that I bought last year and tried to read, and I opened it up I was reading it, I got about 10 pages in, and there was a huge patch of green and blue mold, and it was very much alive, and so I had to throw it out. It was a movie edition of Cool Hand Luke by Don Pierce. A very nice cover, yellow cover, very, very nice, with the man with no eyes on it, the sunglasses, and Luke was reflected in the sunglasses, Paul Newman. And I really would like to have that book. I have been looking for it for a year now, and I have not seen another copy in any condition. And so those are three books that I would like to order. And the only books that I would really like to order, just because I don't think that I'm going to find them. I've been looking for Mickelson's Ghost and The Night in Lisbon literally for years. And so I may just have to get around to ordering them. And number 10 is Who Do I Tag? I will perhaps tag some people or perhaps not. I'm not sure. Um, but that is the end of the Bookaholics Anonymous tag. And I want to thank Mike and Jeff for tagging me. And this has been a good time. I enjoyed this one. I hope it's not too ranty and rambly. Ranty and rambly is what some people really enjoy and other people's don't. Other people don't. And I kind of like the tags where I get to ramble a little bit, where I get to just sort of explore these topics more, and where where I just enjoy rambling, I guess. I like the ones that are questions about reading habits, more so than about which book character or which book, that sort of thing. So anyway, I enjoyed this tag, and hopefully there will be more tags coming up. All right, so I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.